Hello and welcome to the Fighting Spirit Podcast. As always, I'm Jason and I'm here to bring you the retrospective for UFC 247 where Jon Jones somehow, someway defeated Dominic Reyes, and we'll talk about that decision. Let's go over the numbers overall. This was a weird night of judging. There were a lot of fights. The Reyes fight, which we would have gotten wrong. There's also the Lauren Murphy-Andrea Lee fight that I don't know if was judged correctly. I heard that the Andre Wolf fight wasn't judged correctly either. I don't know. Weird night of judges, and I think it hurt our overall score. We went 5 for 12. Not good. We ended up about 42% accuracy, but you start swinging the judges. Let me just put it to you this way. If this card took place in Vegas, I think we would have done slightly better overall. We still would have missed Jones, but we would have done better overall. Is what it is. But on the Patreon, I must have felt it coming because I said, let's not touch this card at all. Let's leave it be. And if you did that, I think you were very happy because there were a lot of weird things that happened tonight. So if you listen to me on Patreon, you didn't touch this one. I think it was a good thing to do. Anyways, let's get into it. Here's the show. All right, so let's kick things off with the main event here. And I just started talking about Patreon, but I just want to say something out here regarding it. So I did say Reyes was good at plus 400. He was about plus 350. I thought numbers were sliding back down the other way, but I said plus 400 or better. You take Reyes. And I actually did. I did go out and put a couple bucks on Reyes. And, that goes against my own numbers, but still 1 out of 3 metrics had him. So he was definitely the minority pick and all that, and I went out and picked him, and it was just, obviously you win some good money at plus 400, relative to whatever bet you make, but, things just didn't work out that way because of the judges. And so the way I saw this fight, even though Jon Jones won, I saw Reyes win the first round, the second round, the third round, and then Jones come back in the fourth. I think Reyes got into the deep water, and he wasn't able to, keep that really high output. I mean, he came out to take Jon's head off. Very high output fighter. Definitely looked like he was trying to shut the door several times. And Jon is just so long. He's so rangy. He's so, I don't know. His fight IQ is just through the roof. His head movement, the way he would, roll out of the danger zone that Reyes would put him in and find his way to the other side of the octagon was just so high level. That it definitely was close, and it definitely stopped Reyes from being able to shut the door. But I still think that Reyes did enough here. I think that he won 3 out of 2 rounds. He outstruck Jon overall, and there are 2 takedowns on Jon Jones' side, but those takedowns didn't really do anything. He hardly secured position, and Reyes himself said he was popping right back up. He got back to his feet right away. It looked like Jones was getting desperate, that he thought that the only way he could win in a fight he might have been losing was to potentially take him down and beat him up, and he wasn't able to execute that game plan. I don't know what part of Jon Jones' game plan he executed so well that he should have won that fight. His striking was a little worse. His grappling wasn't up to snuff against a guy like Reyes, it seemed, at least in those later rounds. Maybe Jon, with a bigger gas tank, does it a little bit better earlier. And, getting back to gas tank, I think that's really the only thing that Jones has here, and a little bit of fight IQ. He was the more experienced fighter. He's done these 5-round wars before, so I think he was better prepared mentally than what Reyes was. But that's just experience. I don't think that Reyes honestly lost the fight. Going back most recently to the Volkanovski-Holloway fight, this was a card that played out very similarly, right? We had Volkanovski do just enough, in my opinion, to go out and defeat Holloway, and they took a belt away from Holloway. So on that decision, all right, cool. The guy won the fight on points, and they took the belt away from the guy. Now, in this one, we're looking at it like, oh, he didn't do enough to take the belt, even though he won on points. What's it going to be? Do you have to make a statement to steal the belt from somebody, or do you just have to win a fight like you'd win any other fight by being the slightly better fighter? And I think going with the stats, going with the numbers, who had more strikes in each round, and that's the thing, too. I know strikes is just one metric, but that was the only metrics to go off of out of the first 3 rounds in this fight, of which Dominic Reyes outstruck Jon Jones. And I think he did more damage. Damage is kind of an intangible. Dominic Reyes, I think, wobbled Jones at times, made him panic. And I don't know how things didn't shake out for Reyes. I think this thing has to be run back. There's a question here on Twitter. I'll just get to it now because we're on the topic. Let me pull it up here. Nick writes to us. You can get in touch with me at MMA Fight Picks 01 also as well. But he says, should there be an immediate rematch between Jon Jones and Reyes? And I think a rematch, I don't know if it has to be immediate. I mean, let these guys heal up. But I think it has to take place very soon. I think that it has to be the next fight. This is not a Thiago Santos situation where he needs massive, knee surgery, it seems. I don't think Reyes did tear his ACL. He said he didn't, I guess, at least in the press conference. Obviously, that's not a medical diagnosis. But I think if both these guys just have lumps that they can heal up and come back to the dance, I think this is the next fight for Jon Jones. I think he has to prove that he actually beat Dominic Reyes because he is the people's champ, Reyes is. Reyes, in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, is the champ. And I think that running it back in Vegas is really the only way to do it. Run it back in Vegas, see who wins with the fair, even judges of Las Vegas, and see who wins there. But just to go a little further, I won't talk about this later on, but what was it? The Lauren Murphy-Andrea Lee fight. Now, I thought Andrea Lee won. She outstruck her 104-80. Even though Murphy ended up with a couple of takedowns. I thought Murphy lost that fight. And during that contest, Dominic Cruz and Joe Rogan were talking on the commentary table. And they were like, hey, one of the judges isn't even watching the fight. He's staring at the floor. Or she's staring at the floor. They didn't sex the judge. But either way, they weren't watching the fight. That is a bad look, okay? That's middle of the card. They shouldn't be bored by that point. That was an interesting ladies' fight, too. I don't know what the hell is going on over in Texas, with the judges that they have, but they need some higher quality guys out there. I mean, I would expect this out of an international card. This thing's taking place in, Bolivia. I'm like, okay, we have to accept, the judges aren't going to be as good here. It is what it is. But when you are in the United States, Houston, Texas, I'm expecting solid judge work out of these guys. This is not a state like New York where it's relatively new or we can still make that excuse. We need to get quality judges in there. And the worst part about it all is that myself, other people out there listening, people that don't listen to the show, everybody in the MMA community, let's put it that way. Everybody in the MMA community believes that they could have done a better job scoring the majority of these fights. And even though it sounds maybe a little stupid to say I could do better than a pro, I think we all could. I think we all could do better than the judge that scored at 49-46, Jon Jones, in that contest. If this fight had been a majority draw for Jones or it had come out as a split decision for Jones, we'd all go, you know what? Close fight. I got to say, that fight, that third round, that second round where I thought Reyes won, it must have been Jon. Jon just edged him out. He was advancing. He did it. Okay, that's fair. We all just kind of go, you know what? Yep, hats off to the GOAT. I get it. Pico Jones, you the man. But Reyes didn't lose in that style. He won more than one round. And when the cards look like that, it calls into question a lot of integrity of the sport. It makes me a little disappointed to watch stuff like this, to watch this kind of travesty. That's one thing about fighting. No other sport really goes down this way. You get a shootout, you get some overtime, you get something to get a decisive winner in most sports. And in MMA, just we go, hey, it's been 15 minutes. We're going to send a team of guys over to decide who's the best. And not all the time they get it right. So, a little disappointing. I know we're kind of rambling on about it at this point, but either way, Jon Jones got the win. I called Jon Jones, and so I'll take the W on the metrics here, but I do not think that he actually won. So, anyways, we got that one right. Valentina Shevchenko versus Caitlin Chookagian. I called it. Who didn't call this? Shevchenko went through Chookagian like a goddamn buzzsaw. She TKO'd her in the third round. I thought that Chookagian looked maybe decent enough to open. She was using her long legs pretty well to stave off Shevchenko at first, but then in the post-fight press conference, Shevchenko said she wanted to feel her length and power. So was she trying to get hit a little bit just to know what to expect? And I think that's kind of a good calculated move because you don't want to go in with a heavy shot if you don't know what to expect. I mean, that woman could swing lunch boxes out there for hands. But that wasn't the case. Valentina felt her power, decided that it was fairly safe, and she just got off these great 1-2 leg kick combinations. Great jab crosses. She just looked really crisp, really fast. She nailed this great kick, this great head kick on Chikagian. I don't even know how the hell she stayed standing, but I mean the whole foot was across her face. And then obviously in the third round we get the takedown and the crucifix, do the bully beatdown, and that's just how it ends up playing out with Shevchenko picking up the W. What's next for her? Personally, I think it's going to be Noon Shevchenko 3, but Dana White doesn't seem to think that's good right now. It's not the fight to make. So we're probably going to end up, I think, with JoJo Calderwood either just straight up getting the call or JoJo's going to fight somebody on that flyweight division. I think JoJo's probably the most deserving, though. She last lost to Chikagian, and considering that we're just kind of throwing women up to Valentina, I think JoJo gets the shot. She's kind of fun to watch. She's just a really good fighter overall, and I think she's probably the best that 125-pound division can offer. So I would vote that she gets the next shot. But at the end of the day, we got this one correct, and hey, who didn't? In the next contest, we had Justin Taffa defeat Juan Adams. These heavyweight fights are just lottery tickets sometimes. You have two guys swinging big, and Justin Taffa just happened to connect with a really nice, I think it was a cross and then an uppercut to put Adams down. And that was kind of all she wrote. Referee stepped right in, pushing him off him, and Taffa gets a win 2 minutes into round one. It's only 17 total strikes thrown. Not too much to say, but we did get this one incorrect. I thought that Adams was going to put it on, but it's not how it played out. But we do actually have a question here regarding Juan Adams. I'm going to go back to Nick here. What's next for Juan Adams? Where does he go from here? So just looking over at Juan Adams' record in the UFC, he is 1-4. So I think he's probably done. He's lost back-to-back first-round KOs. It's just that the talent pool at heavyweight is so shallow that I think he'll probably hang on a little bit longer, to be honest. He'll probably get at least one more, I think, just because they don't have a whole lot of heavyweight talent. And if they can put on two guys that are going to be entertaining, they'll put that fight on and see how it plays out. So I think we'll see him for at least 1-2 more, but in almost any other weight class, especially we're talking, lightweight, featherweight, welter, real competitive ones. He's gone. He gets bounced at this point. It's just he has the luxury of being a heavyweight where talent is so hard to come by. So thank you for the question. Also, there was another one I missed. What does Valentina do next? I think I kind of answered that one just with the JoJo Calderwood call out since Dana doesn't like Noon's 3. And then on a card full of controversial judging decisions, which one was the worst? I think we got to go with Reyes on that one. You could call it a robbery. You could not call it a robbery. I don't know where you personally feel, but I feel like it was just a bad call. It was a close fight, 3-2 in Reyes' favor. I think that, if he had lost in another fashion, split decision, majority draw, something like that, I think it would be way less controversial, and we just be here talking about how great John Jones is rather than how bad the calls are. So sometimes it's not what happens, it's how it happens, and this was kind of a travesty of how it happened. So I think we got to say that one was the worst call of the night. And, hey, Reyes will probably get another crack. He's a pretty young guy. Heal up, man. You'll get back there. All right, so we did get that Juan Adams fight incorrect. And, we got a couple more incorrect ones coming, just so you know. In the next contest, we had Dan Ige defeat Mirsad Bektic. So this was one I didn't really just because I wanted Ige to win. In my mind, Ige's the better fighter than Bektic, but numbers somehow shook out for Bektic. I think it was some of the takedown game that really put him over the top. But it ended up being a split decision. It was really close. I thought that Ige basically won the fight unanimously, but they somehow gave it to Bektic, even though he scored 3 takedowns. Although, he did come near to submitting Ige a little bit with the head and arm choke in the second round. Maybe that's why it came up as a split. But I thought Ige, let's say 29-28 unanimous Ige. I don't think split was necessary, honestly. Ige put it on him in the first round. He put it on him in the last round. So that's 2 out of 3 in my book. And I think Ige picked up, the rightful win. It just probably should have been unanimous. And we ended up getting that one incorrect. Moving on to the next one, Derek Lewis, Ilir Latifi. We did get this one right. I thought that Latifi would be a little bit explosive, and I think he was with at least some of his takedown movements once he wrapped Lewis up. But Lewis threw some big, heavy shots in there. They weren't the fastest shots, like I said they were going to be. But he did connect with enough. He put enough hurt on Latifi that I think he deserves to pick up a unanimous win. This one was called correctly. So hats off to Derek Lewis. Always a fun guy to watch. I didn't get to hear his interview because I was at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and it's just hard to hear that kind of stuff while you're there. But I'm sure he was pretty good on the mic. He usually is. In the next contest, we had Trevin Giles defeat James Krause. So in this one, while I was watching it, it did scare me a bit. Trevin Giles did win by split decision. And, Krause looked dangerous. In the first round, he got his back, and I thought that he could have gotten that rear naked choke very early. Then as things went on, second round, he was beat down pretty bad. In fact, it was ended up being almost a TKO, I think, for Giles. And then the third round was close, but I think Giles just edged it out. And James Krause, I think, for his lack of camp, really hurt him. I think a camp, if he had some kind of camp, we're talking like even if he had 2 to 3 weeks to really tune up for the fight, let alone, an entire, 8-week camp or whatever he ends up doing. I think that Krause probably could have won this fight. I think he could have won in the third round. I think he would have looked like the better, fresher guy. But that's just not how it played out. Trevin Giles picks up a good win. He gets some fight of the night money. It was a fun fight. I really enjoyed it. And he got the correct decision here. I think this one honestly should have been a split. I'm not upset about that just because Krause was close to shutting the door. And the third round wasn't, all Giles, but round 2 definitely was. Either way, got it correct, and I was happy to make that call. In one that we also should have gotten correct, but judges, I think, took a robbery here. Lauren Murphy, Andrea Lee. So even though Lauren Murphy scored 2 takedowns, I didn't think she did that much with them. In fact, Andrea Lee went for a submission attempt that was unsuccessful. So the kind of tables turned, I think, a little bit as far as the takedown goes. And then she outstruck her by 24 strikes, Andrea Lee did. It was 104-80. So I'm having a hard time figuring out how they gave it to Lauren Murphy. This was the fight that Joe Rogan and company did call out. The judges weren't watching the fight. This is also, I think, the hometown girl of Lauren Murphy. And I guess they were just going to give it to her. That's just how it was going to go down. Not what I wanted to see. And, yeah, on a night that felt very international by the judging, I'm happy to say that, I told everybody to stay away from this card for the most part on Patreon. This was just bad card full of, bad card. It's not a bad card, but just a card full of bad calls. And, it's a little upsetting. So, is what it is. We got that one wrong. And one that we did get correct, though, Chaos Williams, or Kalen Williams. This Chaos here on Fight Metric, but I think it's Kalen, if you've looked him up other places, defeats Alex Morono. I just saw the quick highlights of this one. Chaos Williams was looking to make a statement in the UFC by knocking out a guy in Morono that looked, like a really good, solid fighter coming in. He had some good wins under his belt. He looked experienced, and Chaos Williams said, "No, buddy, I'm here to party. I'm here to make my name off of you." And he knocked him out 27 seconds into round 1. The guy came out like a goddamn steamroller and just walked through Alex Morono. And that's the easiest way to take the judges out of the situation, is to go and steamroll your opponent. And that's what Chaos Williams did. So it was having to make that call. It was a great one. The rest of these are all going to be L's for us here. Though Mario Batista defeats Miles Johns, flying knee in the second round. I didn't actually see this one, so I can't make any comments, but Johns took an L there. A little sad to see. I think he did lose his undefeated streak at that point. He has now gone to 10-1, so he did lose his undefeated streak there, but hey, all good things must come to an end eventually. And then we have Journey Newson defeat Domingo Pilarte. Another one, just, Newson catches Pilarte. I thought Pilarte was going to be the better fighter overall, but hey, you get caught early, 38 seconds in, you go down, and it is what it is. And that's when we got incorrect. Andre Ewell defeats Jonathan Martinez. I heard, and this was a split decision, I heard Martinez actually probably won this fight. By the numbers here, 80-66, it doesn't look like he should have won, but maybe damage, something to that effect, was on the side of Martinez. And I think that he, I'm just going to go with it. He probably should have won if that's what the controversy was, because I haven't heard any controversy that I'm arguing with tonight. Even the one I should have got wrong, Jones. I mean, let's face facts here. So anyways, Martinez takes an L there, and so do we. And the last one is fight here was also a debut bout. Youssef Zalal defeats Austin Lingo. So we got 1-1 with the debuters. We got one right, and the Zalal Lingo fight wrong. Chaos Williams was the other one. So not the best night of fights for us. We didn't really have that high accuracy. Like I said, just coming in at about 42%. I think that we could have done a bit better had some of the judges really gone our way. Apparently, we probably should have had an additional 2 right and an additional 1 wrong, so we should have ended up, I think, at about 50%, and that would have been not too much better, but it would have been better. Better is always better, right? All right, so yeah, I'm gonna be crunching for our fights next week. We're kind of a low-key sweet fight here next week in New Mexico, where Corey Anderson is taking on Jan Blachowicz. I got some really nice fights on here. Diego Sanchez, Michael Pereira. I like that one. Diego Sanchez, obviously a gamer. Pereira is an entertainer. That one's going to be fun. Devin Clark, Gazimrad, and Tikalov. Fun fight. I like that one. Montana De La Rosa, she's fun to watch. Taking on Mara Barella. Let's see, Yancy Medeiros, Lando Venata. That is a great fight. It's right in the middle of the card. Probably should be a little bit higher. Really like that one. Tim Means is taking on a fight. The Dirty Bird, always fun to watch him. Jim Miller, Scott Holtzman, other like low-key awesome fight. Ray Borg, Rogerio Bontornin, cool fight. Macy Chiesa, Nico Montano. Nico Montano was stripped to the 125-pound belt. She moved up to bantam now. She's taking on Macy Chiesa. Chiesa's coming off a bad loss, but she was looking like a steamroller coming in. Really fun one there. Casey Kenny, Merab Delavici. Fun fight. Just good, fun fights. Nothing, no big names right now. These are all, I think, this is a heavy prospect card, with the exception of Corey Anderson, Diego Sanchez, and a couple others. Heavy prospect card. A lot of fun ones out there. I'm really loving the Lando Venata Yancy Medeiros fight. That's my unofficial fight of the night right now, I think. And yeah, just a really solid one overall. This one I think overall is better than the one we get on the pay-per-view, which is good to see. Just kind of a fun night in store for us. So anyways, I'll be back with those fight picks, I believe, tomorrow. I got to finish crunching them today. We'll get the podcast out tomorrow, and we'll be on to the next. Hopefully Mexico, or New Mexico, is going to have better judges than what we got here in Houston. I'm expecting to kind of come back to form, get some good wins in there, and yeah, go from there. So until I speak with you again next time, happy fight picking.